This could possibly be the quickest and easiest way to learn isiZulu. Melusi Chabalala has been showing us how learning one word at a time can help one pick up the language. Each day he would post a word on his Facebook profile along with a witty explanation. He's now decided to put all those words in a book called Melusi's Everyday Zulu. Chabalala also gives insight into what it's like being a modern Zulu man and how he sees the country's social and political landscape. Melusi, sawubona.
Sawubona sis.
Although I'm Xhosa, so I would say molo njani bhuti?
Molo ndi right.
Oh, perfect. So now you're creative. Yes. I like what your ad agency, the ad agency's ethos. I mean, it says something along the lines of create work that touches Africans. Now, that's beautiful. Is that why you decided to post a single word every day on social media, except Sundays, of course?
Yes.
And
Sundays.
Ultimately led to this very fantastic book.
Yeah, it's kind of how I try and approach both work and my life, you know, as an African man, an African individual. So my identity as an African is very important to me. And because of our history as a continent and a country, it's important to always be vigilant and to uplift ourselves and always encourage each other.
Now, your book is described, well, it's under the genre of humor. Jenny Chris Williams actually puts it nicely. She says 220 pages of isiZulu cheek, irreverence, and laugh out loud humor, or is it lol humor? How would you describe the book?
I think it's a collection of jokes and stories, some made up, but mostly based on my life and just how I see the world, and then built around specific isiZulu words and expressions to make those words and expressions relatable to people.
So how did you start from one word per day on Facebook and social media? In fact, you describe it in the book, to actually writing the book. And I mean, it all started in October of 2017, right?
Yeah, October last year. So, again, it goes back to my ad agency. I was disgruntled with the way the industry treats African languages and the people who speak them. So I had written this whole letter, you know, but when I read it again, it was just complaining and complaining and complaining. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to do that. But because on my profile, there are a lot of people in the industry, in marketing and advertising, I thought, all right, let me celebrate my language so that people can see that we are not some language that should not be respected and enjoyed. So that's how it started. And I said, okay. So it wasn't teaching, it was fun with isiZulu. But then one day I just got thousands and thousands of friend requests from white people, and that's when it became teaching.
And in fact, you were quite apprehensive when you got those friend requests. Why so?
I mean, you know, social media has been a hotbed for racism, you know, so, and there'd been the Penny Sparrows and the Helen Zilles posting divisive and incendiary things. So I thought, I really don't need this in my life, you know. But then I thought, Jason, if people are interested in this thing, let me accept these friend requests. And if it turns out they are Penny Sparrows, I will just unfriend them. And it has been good.
All right, so I couldn't put the book down. I'm still reading it though, but my favorite description was the word papa. You actually struggled to translate it into English.
Yes.
But you've got the people that papayo and then the puppyist. Please explain that. It was so hilarious.
So yeah, papa, you know, it's quite difficult to explain in English, but it's someone who's not really in control of the things they say and the things they do. So you've got people in politics, abapapayo. You've got people in the media, abapapayo. And I suppose some people reading the book will say, nya papa, you know. And then papist is so what I do also in the book is that I anglicize some of the words to make them work in an English context. So a papist would be someone who just papas all the time. Yeah.
I would never have thought the likes of the Thuli Madonselas or the Nelson Mandelas would be in that category of puppies. Explain that, please.
No, so for instance, if you are Nelson Mandela, I can imagine the apartheid government at the time just sitting there and going, Diman, hey, Papa, man, you know, because he just was relentless. So I can imagine if you are being investigated by Thuli Madonsela when she was still the public protector, you'd sit at your home, wherever your home is, in Nkandla or wherever, and you think, hey, Lentombazania Papa, man.
All right, so the book I found is not about just you stacking up different words, isiZulu words, and describing them and defining them, but you also touch a lot about your life, you know, from a social and political angle.
Yeah, look, I mean, I went and called this thing Melusi's Everyday Zulu. So, you know, I then had to share a bit about who this Melusi is and being a Zulu man navigating life in the 21st century. So that's why I touch a lot on my life.
And who should read this book? I mean, you said that you got a lot of friend requests from non-Zulu speakers, particularly from different races. So who is this book targeted at?
I think the book for me is targeted at all South Africans, whether you speak isiZulu or not, you know, and I'll tell you why. I think even if you speak isiZulu, it's because it's a celebration of the language. So even if you speak the language, you still enjoy it. And if you don't speak the language, you get to learn, you know, and you don't get to learn isiZulu, you get to learn some useful phrases and some useful words. Yeah.
All right, so describe some of the, what should I call it, just some of the challenges that you had initially, you know, when you started. I mean, you said you were called all sorts of different names, you had to block a few people. Also, some feminists had problems with, you know, just some of your descriptive writing. So explain those challenges and how you overcame them.
Yeah, so, you know, when you're sitting in your world, you think you know. And then when your world opens up like mine did, you discover different opinions and you also learn certain things about yourself. Speaking about the feminists, you know, I'm a guy, most of my friends are guys, so I live in a certain world. And I hadn't realized that some of my views or the way I approach the world are quite offensive, you know, so that has been a learning for me, and it's something that has opened up my world and my worldview and my approach towards women, yeah.
Now, you're a storyteller, and I mean, you work in the creative ad agency space. You never thought you would write a book, no. Probably not in a couple of years' time at least. What advice would you give somebody, you know, like you, who is interested in the world that we live in, especially in Africa and its culture, to start and write?
I think it's important to tap into yourself. You know, we all have original stories because we are all unique in our own ways. And that's the one thing that I've learned, that we all have magic in ourselves. You know, we don't need to go find it out there. It's within us.
Now, what would you say to critics who say, well, you know, this is not the typical, you know, language book? How would you describe your book specifically?
Look, it's my take. You know, if you want to go get a formal education in isiZulu, you can do that. But if you just want to learn some phrases, have a bit of a laugh, get offended, then yeah, get my book.
All right, the most important question, where can people get your book, and how much does it retail for?
It's at Exclusive Books, as well as other major book retailers, and it retails for 210 Rand.
And your social media profile, has it stopped? Is there activity still? Do you still type one word per day and rest on a Sunday?
Yeah, I still type one word a day, tell a stupid story, and rest on a Sunday.
What's next for you?
Ah, man, it's really just building my agency and hopefully writing more of these. Yeah, but also I'm working with other creatives who speak other languages so that they could do something similar in their own languages, because it's not about promoting isiZulu phela, it's about all of us celebrating indigenous South African languages.
All right, ever think of stand-up comedy, because your book is really
No, I'm not that guy. Like even right now, I'm sweating. Like
really?
Yeah, I'm fine behind the laptop. Yeah.
All right, fantastic.